Welcome to Built for This. I'm your host, Brian Briscoe. My podcast features captivating conversations with intriguing people who have found purpose in their lives through their career, family, or life experiences, and just why they were built for this. Through the stories that you will hear, I trust that you will be inspired and encouraged to find just what you were built for. So let's get started. And welcome again to this edition of Built for This. And what a privilege it is for me to welcome in a longtime friend from way back in my broadcast days and sports information days. He spent a long career doing that, and also equally as long or longer with the United States Olympic Committee and the Media Services Department there. Bob Condron joining me on the show this week. Bob, thanks so much for being a part of this.
Hey, my pleasure. We spent a long time together. That's good.
Yeah, we did. We'll have a lot of stories to tell about that. And you know, you brought me into the Olympic scene on a couple of world university games and a couple of Olympic festivals, and I enjoyed that so very much. And you taught me, how to get the real stories out for what the U.S. Olympic athletes were all about. And I want to talk about that, but let's go back to your beginnings and how you got built for this kind of a thing. How does a guy go from the panhandle of Texas to finding his way to sports communications?
You know, I can trace it back to one moment. It was in class at Texas Tech. I was a junior and looking for a job. And at the end of class, the teacher said, "Hey, there's an opening in the sports information director's office." And I was thinking, well, that would be great. And so before that, I was drinking heavy coffee and Cokes and whatever. And I had a severe need to hit the men's room. So this is a bathroom story, so just get ready for it.
Okay, I love it.
I said, okay, I've got a chance here. And so I passed that up, and I did my best Jesse Owens act to get to the athletic department. And I was working. I actually was working within about 10 minutes. And right after that, another guy from my class walked in. He wanted the job as much as I did, except he stopped. He stopped in the bathroom.
Uh-oh.
I didn't. And so I would not be talking to you here now. I wouldn't have had the rich experiences I've had if I would have not jumped on my gut feeling and just gone over there and started to work. So I can trace it all back to that one non-bathroom stop that I've done 16 Olympics and met Fidel Castro and 4 presidents and whatever. But that was the moment.
Wow. What a way to launch a career, and what a great story to look back on to do that. All right, we're going to get to when you actually joined the Olympics, but you're at Texas Tech. You get an opportunity to continue that sports information. You find your way to Dallas, to Southern Methodist University, SMU, and that's where we first meet when I'm working in radio. And you're there at some really great times when we see the SMU program, football, basketball, really start to surge at that time. And what was it about, I guess, college communication, sports information that you really enjoyed at that time before you got the first taste of being able to work in the Olympic level?
Yeah, I just loved college. Yeah. I look back on it, and I think the happiest times of my life was as a student assistant and assistant SID at Texas Tech. Mm-hmm. That's where I got my formation of how to act professionally and how to listen and just tune in. I used to go. Texas Tech was a situation back in the 60s where all the coaches liked each other. All the coaches, football, basketball, they would all gather at 7:45 and have coffee, and I would be a fly on the wall and just listen to them talk. And I don't think it's that way now, where the Bobby Knights get with the Sabins and have coffee. But I learned a lot, and then I kind of learned at Texas Tech. I had a full plate, taking 18 hours, married, had a kid, making 90 cents an hour,
playing golf.
And just as happy as I could possibly be. And then the SMU situation came up and moved from small town to Dallas. And that was something. In 14 years at SMU, mm-hmm. we had the number 2 team in the nation with Eric Dickerson and Craig James and that group. We were also good. We were national champions in track,
Right.
women's golf, men's golf. Payne Stewart played on the team. I mean, we had a really good athletic department, and I enjoyed Mustang Mania, and it's kind of funny. You can remember this being a North Texas state guy, but SMU was, in my 14 years, we were on some kind of NCAA probation for 9 years. So
Wow.
it was a challenge, and that's the kind of time that you think back on, what are my strengths, or what should I be trying to do? And honesty. I think if I wasn't honest during that time, I don't think I would have survived.
Yeah.
I don't think that my relationship with the media would have prospered. And I tried to convey that to the coaches and the staff there. I said, don't worry about what you said 20 minutes ago. Just tell the truth as much as you can. Say, we screwed up. We're going to try to do better. And I think I took that philosophy for 14 years. And with the SMU situation, that's the only way we could have survived.
Well, I'll tell you, I was working in the Dallas media at that time, and you certainly were one of the, if not the most highly respected communications, representative of any organization. You mentioned a minute ago about what you learned at Texas Tech, and that was be a good listener, be aware of what's going around you, and then at SMU to be honest. How did those foundational elements, help form you, Bob, to what was going to propel you into one of the greatest opportunities that would come your way, and that could really be, a great message to anyone else that's wanting to come into this kind of an industry if they stick to those kind of principles?
Professionally, I kind of set goals for myself. You have to be honest. You have to be available.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be passionate. And I think one of the biggest things, you have to be prepared. I mean, you have to be prepared for the absolute worst things that can happen. So when they happen, and at SMU, they happened a lot, you're ready. And you had built up trust, or I felt like I had built up trust with the Dallas media, which was an unbelievably competitive group.
Very
you had the Times Herald, the Morning News, Fort Worth Star Telegram, KRL. Radio was amazing. TV was, you had the Vernon Lundquist there. It was a huge media town, and you can't just struggle by. You gotta trust them. They gotta trust me. So we built a really good trust during that time, and I think it was a very good relationship.
Did you feel like by the time you were, now we're going to talk about mid, I guess, 1980s, at that time you had discovered that, this is my career. This is what I was built for, what I was meant to do, making these relations. Because as you and I know, communications, whether it's sports or whatever it is all about just relationships and making those and developing them. Did you realize that around that time that this was your strength? This is what you were meant to do?
I did, because I was a writer before anything else. I mean, I enjoyed writing and photography more than I did the PR aspect of this. But you learn as you go, and you pick up strength, and you try to keep it going. And I have a background of journalism in my family. My dad was he was in radio, big time radio. He covered the V2 rocket launch in White Sands. He was friends with all the Germans that came over and helped build the V2 rocket. So I kind of watched him in the news, and so I learned a lot from Ed. He was also MC of the Grand Ole Opry. He was in Nashville for about 3 years. So the background was in the family, and it just kind of hit me when I was thrust into the situation at Texas Tech and SMU.
How and when did the Olympic Committee opportunity come along? I mean, before they reach out to you and you join the staff, if I remember right, you can tell me, did you work a couple of Olympic festivals or events or anything they had, and get that in your blood before the actual opportunity came along?
Absolutely. It's kind of like you did with us in some events. I was in 1981, I volunteered for the Olympic Festival. And, that was my vacation. So you'd work 12 months a year, 24 hours a day, and I volunteered for an event. And it was in Syracuse, New York. And I fell in love with the national anthem, the medals, the gold, silver, and bronzes, the attitude of the Olympics. And it was building right after we had boycotted the Russian games.
Right.
And I mean, I fell in love with the whole Olympic aspect of it, and ended up they liked what I did and offered me a job and half pay and
Sure.
uproot. And I just said, I've got to go this path. I said, I'm being led to this because all of a sudden I found real passion in what I was doing. I mean, I was always passionate, but I fell in love with the Olympic movement and the athletes and how they sacrificed and how they all of a sudden came from nowhere and they're on the medal stand in Barcelona getting the gold medal. I mean, it was great. I sacrificed a lot and it just all paid off.
And we're going to talk in depth about those. You mentioned 15 Olympic Games, just countless national and international events. I even know that you assisted the Olympic Committee after your retirement in the Rio Games. But back to what you just said a moment ago, when you first went to one of those Olympic festivals, which is, I think you invited me in the early 90s to attend a couple, and I had that exact same feeling and reaction when I was at the archery or swimming venues, that hearing the national anthem and seeing the athletes in the colors of the countries. And talk about what that did to you when it's outside of maybe what normally you used to doing at a college or a university and getting game notes ready for a football game or something. But when you're covering an event, like you said, for the first time, and you're hearing the anthems of other countries, including the U.S., what kind of impact and how did that grip you?
It just totally gripped me. And even better is when I went to the U.S. Olympic Committee, my office is on the Olympic Training Center.
Wow.
So it was like a college campus of the best athletes in the world. And so I got to meet them practicing, and I got to see the Mary Lou Rettons of the world come up from a 16-year-old in West Virginia, the Rulon Gardners that all of a sudden burst onto the wrestling scene. I mean, it did it every day. Everybody that worked at the Olympic Committee, cooks, guys that mowed the grass, the guys that welcomed you into the village complex, they would look at the athletes and say, if they can do that, I can do that. Mm-hmm. I can be the best guy at my job, whether it's fixing breakfast for Apollo Ono or whatever. Yeah. Just the spirit just overwhelmed me for 30 years. So was it 1984? Is that the first year you were on staff? Yep.
There?
Los Angeles.
Okay. So what do you remember about those games, your first ones with them? And those were huge. But anything stand out about the very first experience of being on staff and being on, one of a pretty renowned arena certainly for track and field, but all of the venues there?
Everything stood out. The opening ceremonies stood out.
Yeah.
I just remember after it was over, just looking at the stands and saying, I'm at the Olympics. I'm at the center of the universe right now. And just how happy, how glad, my life, professional life kind of started then. I mean, I had done a lot. I had been around a lot, but it just enveloped me. And every single Olympics from then, I had that same feeling. I mean, I love going to work and going down I-25 to the Olympic Committee. And on my right is the Rocky Mountains. On my left is the plains of Colorado. But I got to do that for 30 years and just look back and say, boy, I was so blessed. And I would not trade my life for anybody's.
Who were some of the athletes? I mean, that's a hard question, I know, to ask you. 30 years, summer and winter games, but you mentioned at the start that you were a journalist, a writer at the start of your career. So you told a lot of stories, and I guess, was that a motivating, not motivating, but helped you tell stories that you're able to reach back to those roots of really writing in-depth stories about athletes? And who were some of the ones that you remember to this day?
Mary Lou Retton, for sure. 84 was just the little girl from West Virginia. Nobody knew her. And she just bounced around and won the all around and just captured America. And she was probably responsible for 50,000 young 10-year-olds to get into women's gymnastics. I mean, she was a heroine. I always look up to her. I looked up to, it's funny, totally different situation, Shaun White. The Flying Tomato. He was one of the best guys to be around. He was funny, intelligent, one of the best athletes the U.S. has ever produced. And a very real surprise to me was Kobe Bryant. I was not really a fan of Kobe Bryant because he would always come and sink the three-point shot that beat the Nuggets.
Yes, well, there you
go. So I didn't like him at all. But he turned out to be maybe the best Olympian that I've been around. He would, this was 2008 in Beijing, and I would ride out to practice with a team sometime. And it's funny, it was a gym, and there was a fence at the end of it. And at this fence, there were 3 old Chinese ladies that always waited for the bus. And Kobe sat in the front. He sat on the front of the bus, and he would always go over and talk to those ladies. He'd say, "Hi, ladies. How you doing?" Just wanted to say hi. And they were all blushing and looking at the ground. And he just treated them nice. And he went in, and I remember one of the first media days we had, he did 3 interviews in 3 languages. Wow. He grew up in Italy. In Italy because his dad played ball in Italy. And he did one in Spanish, Italian, and English. And it just, shocked everybody. He was a different guy than I thought he was. And I learned a lot and learned to appreciate him. And then, get the weird memories of Michael Phelps.
Oh, yeah.
The Michael Phelps story started about a year in advance because this was a different situation with 8 events and the prelims leading up to those events. He was swimming all the time. And so we started meeting with him, not him actually, the coaches, the trainers, the officials in the sport about how to do this, because it wasn't just media that he had to worry about. If he would have won 7 medals instead of 8, he would have been looked at as maybe a failure. And it turned out that we got our strategy from the coaches. They say, hey, after he gets out of the pool, in 13 minutes, he's got to be back in the water, getting rid of the lactic acid in his body and warming down. He can't last 8 events with prelims going on. So we had to design some kind of, what a mix zone in the Olympics is.
Right.
The interviews are just, it's madness. It lasts forever.
Yeah.
So we ended up kind of cheating the system a little bit. I brought in a loudspeaker for the mix zone. And so he hit everybody at once. Everybody could hear him. We got him out of there and got him back in the water, because if we would have messed that first opportunity up, Michael wouldn't have been available for media interviews, and coaches would have pulled him out. So he did the media, he did the training, he trusted us. We said, we're going to take care of you. We're not going to abuse you. But this is the story of a lifetime. You're going to affect so many people, and you're going to get a chance to think so many people that the media is important and we'll make it comfortable for you. And it turned out perfect. It was like a script. He won 8 medals. He's the most decorated Olympian ever.
Mm-hmm.
And no bad experiences all the way. It went, but it wouldn't have just worked out by accident. And that's one of the moments that we're all proud of. USA Swimming, the U.S. Olympic Committee media staff, and we didn't win the medals. We felt that we may have helped him do that and do it comfortably.
Incredible story, Neil. And you mentioned Kobe a moment ago, and of course, and that was 2008. But years before that, we get introduced to the first time we ever see the Dream Team. I guess in Barcelona, maybe at that time. Well, what was that whole experience like? Which is now, I guess we get that all the time when the Olympics roll around. But dealing with that, with these best basketball players in the world coming in on the first time making that appearance, it was looked like it was almost a circus going on.
It was. It was like the Rolling Stones came to town. It was. I've never seen the media involvement before this. The first practice was amazing, and USA Basketball and really worked hard on this along with us, and just prepared them. I've never seen, my main pictures is a journalist from Ghana, I think, posing for pictures, getting autographs. Usually don't see the media in an autograph line and taking pictures, but that's what happened, because it wasn't just the Americans that cared about the Dream Team. It was the guy in the paper from Peru and Mexico City and Latvia. I mean, they all cared, and it was structured where they wanted to enjoy the city too.
Yeah.
But we would make them available at X amount of time, and the thing that made it easier was they had their own practice facility, so we didn't really have to go through the IOC restrictions of media interviews. We handle it on our own, and we were available to the non-rights holders like ESPN, CNN, and it was. I remember how it all started. The first game, I remember Barkley elbowing this 6'10", 140-pound center from one of the African countries, almost put him in the stands. So that's the way the Dream Team started out, with a big elbow from Barkley, letting them know that, hey, this is not going to be picture taking and autograph session. We're going to play some basketball here. And they did. It's the best team ever assembled.
I know that, a big part of the Olympics, and you being such a great storyteller, and this was something that always resonated with me when I had the chance to work the 3 events that you invited me to, that you made a point, I think, to get across to all of us who were volunteers that, that there's a lot of stories to tell. It's about the stories of the athletes that people don't hear about, and to really find out about who these athletes are. So, we just talked about the Dream Team, but the Olympics are about so many more other events and sports that most people will never see or hear about, but that's a platform and a stage that they get projected to. How important was that for you to make sure that message got across to your staff? And I know there's staff with the governing bodies, PR media staffs that are working as well, but that was make sure that, the stories of the wrestler and the archer and the people in these other sports get across as well.
That was the most important thing to me, was getting the stories out about the people that haven't had stories written about them. I mean, there's a story on everybody that, and it's, and especially, let's say, the judos, the cross-country skiers, the biathletes, all of those, they're not covered by media, maybe once every 4 years if they want a gold medal, but they've done something in their life that's just totally amazing. And I wanted everybody to make sure they knew those stories. And that was one of the most satisfying things to me is all of a sudden a guy or a girl was wanted by the media, was respected, wrote stories. I remember the athletes that said, I met a guy from the New York Times today. I mean, they were so happy to be involved. And we tried to take care of every team and make sure that happened. And that gave me more pleasure, I believe, than Michael Phelps was having somebody in a small sport that never gets covered, luge, bobsled, taekwondo, to get that story told. And because what it does is gets the 10-year-olds all interested in that sport. They say, hey, if this guy or lady can do it, I can do it. And then we would direct them to get in touch with the governing bodies and say, okay, where's the tryout camp? Where do I go get a coach? And little things start. And that's why we have such a great grassroots situation here in the United States. Somebody had a hero or a heroine that they wanted to follow, and we kind of helped them along that path. And sports is good for the world. I think our athletes are the best in the world in doing that by far. Our athletes are cooperative. They understand the role of the media. They understand somebody has helped them. It's like that guy that found the turtle on top of the fence post. Didn't get there by himself. Yeah. Somebody had to lift him up. So we take great pride and do the little things for the folks that don't get the attention.
Where do you see the, I guess, the status or the growth of the Olympic Games now, or is it or maybe just the U.S. side, not necessarily the International Olympic Committee, but USOC, the growth of all the sports, the organization, the health of the Olympic Games? I mean, is this something that will just go on and on forever because it is such a worldwide fascination?
Boy, you're sure hoping so.
Yeah,
I'm really. It has its internal problems, and it seems like they all come together at opening ceremonies, and then everybody's happy. But I think it's too good an event not to keep on. I think it's maybe one of the best events there is in the world, sports-wise or others. It just does things for people. You can tell by the TV reception and the coverage. And I think I've had to deal with the different national governing bodies in the U.S. and then the international federations. I've had to deal with all of them. And pretty much they are good people. They care about what they're doing. They're passionate. I think to the athletes, an Olympic medal in 99% of the sports are the pinnacle of that sport in wrestling. And of course you have your NBA titles and your World Series. But to a wrestler, Olympic gold medal is the utopia of things. I think the Olympics are going to be fine. They're just too good. And I think they have good leaders, cities that want to host it, people that want to watch it. In the governmental in the world political situation, you can't say 100% things are going to happen on cue, but it has proven to be better than people.
So was it after the London Games 2012? Was that your last games or?
The last, I was in on the planning all the way through Sochi.
Okay.
And then I worked for the organizing committee in 2016 in Rio.
At Rio.
So I had 16 total Olympic Games.
Wow. Any favorite location and why that was maybe a country or a culture that really grasped the essence and the flavor of the Olympic Games from your perspective?
Well, the first one always does. LA did, because just like I say, I was just astounded. It's just so beautiful. But if I go back and pick a couple, Australia, it was just magic. The people there were great. The country was amazing. I loved everything about that one. The one that was most magic to me was Norway. I got to see little 2-year-olds out playing in diapers and 20 degrees below zero in the snow and rosy cheeked and everybody happy watching the cross country meet. They had 50,000 people at the cross country finals.
Wow.
Just a magic country. The background, the beauty. But I think every one of them to me were special. Barcelona,
yeah,
Paris. That's just a magic time, and it's like fishing on a stream in Colorado. There is no bad place.
Sure. And I know you're a big fly fisher there. The storytelling element of the Olympic Games, again, you said you go back to that's what your beginnings were all about. The storytelling of it is that something that you would like to pass on to others who are maybe following in your footstep or career-wise, that it may not necessarily be all about the maybe high-profile games or covering the dream team or college bowl games or something like that, that maybe it's more about, like you just talked about, telling stories and bringing, personalities to life, which you mentioned that's what turned out to be the passion that you liked about the Olympic flavor.
I get to talk to a lot of students. I'm on the national board at Texas Tech, so I talk to their students at least once a year and mentor even more. And I try to get into the passion part of it, the preparation, but especially passion, and especially don't overlook anything and always be prepared. And I said the most important things may not be hosting a show, might not be doing a podcast. Yeah. It may be pulling wire for the TVs, cameras. But you got to get in there, but have a feeling, have a kindness about you when you go into a job or a position. I said, make your life happy, make it productive. One of the things I'm most proud of is my son is now worked 6 Olympics, coming up 7, and he's won 4 Emmys.
Yeah, talk about that, Mark.
And Mark, and he, that I just take great pride in what he's done. He's a producer for, the last Olympics for Peacock.
Yeah.
In Peacock, he did the wrap-up show, but he started out at the festival just like we did, and learned to do the simple things, and he's done it right. And now he teaches at Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida, and he's done right. I take more pride in what he's done than what I did.
After you spend your 30-something years there at the Olympic Committee, I guess retirement, but you get an opportunity, like you mentioned just a minute ago, to be a part of the games at Rio de Janeiro, and on the golf venue, which I know golf is a nice passion of yours.
It is.
What was that like, being a part of that, to come back maybe in a little bit different role? And did you approach it any differently, or did you still have that? I mean, it wasn't that much long after you had left, still have that same kind of passion of telling stories at that venue?
I did. That one came full circle for me. I started out as a 14-year-old mowing greens at a little par 3 course in Waco that my dad leased, picking up balls at the driving range at midnight, and playing golf. I ended up being a decent golfer in my life. Played for West Texas State, and I've been on every aspect of golf, from construction to cleaning the wormholes off of the green. So I've pretty well come up and to be in charge of the media operation for a sport that hadn't been in the Olympic Games for 100 years. It closed it for me. I was so satisfied with my life and my passion of golf, and it was beautiful.
Oh, and what about wrestling now? So again, we're going to go to a sport that not a lot of people necessarily follow. It's not the high profile one that media gets, but I know that, you were involved in a lot of, at the national level organizations, but certainly important at its presence of remaining in the Olympics. And so how important was that to you and the affection that you had for that sport or have for it?
I think that's one of the most important things I've ever done in my life, because, like I say, in wrestling, the utopia is the gold medal in the Olympic Games. Mm-hmm. And in 2013, wrestling was dropped from the core sports by the IOC. And I went to the governing body there and said, look, I was retired at that time. I said, you need anybody to lick stamps or answer the phone, I'll come in and join you. And so I did that for a little while. And then I got a call to join the International Federation as the media point person for the internationally for the world. So lived in Switzerland for 8 months. Took us 8 months to build a program. We had the pity factor going for us. And if we would not have dealt with the media, wrestling would not be in the Olympics. Because I said, media is going to get you back in if you handle it right. And we did. We did it. That the president was incredible. And 8 months later, wrestling was back in the games. And all the little 10-year-olds now have a goal for gold medal. And that was important.
And you've mentioned several times just in this podcast about the impact that these particular sports are having. I mean, basketball, sure, a lot of kids grow up playing that, maybe even track and field, soccer. But these other sports that maybe they're not, like you said, getting a lot of attention, but the impact that Olympics have on young kids, we know the impact it has on viewership and all the media and stuff like that. But if you could talk about, and it sounds like that is a very important part about really what it transcends to for the individual kid that might be watching it at home and envision someday that he might do that, the importance of Olympics that they still have on young kids.
That's one of the most important things is after the Olympics, what do you do? What is your goal there? And it is to let and I keep talking about 10-year-olds, but that's kind of the audience.
Yeah, it is.
That's where heroes come from when you're 10 years old. And we want to make it really easy to facilitate getting into bobsled, getting into archery. Who do you contact? Who do you write? And so we've got the number, we've got the name, we've got the club in your little hometown that you can contact. And we lead them by the hand and say, here's the phone number, here's the guy or lady you need to talk to. They live 20 minutes from your doorstep. Go see them. And that, multiply that times 1 million in all the sports. And you've got a really good grassroots. They may not be in the Olympics, but they're in sport. They're in something that they can enjoy the rest of their life, be part of a team, know how a team works, know what you need to do to be a good person. And some of them go to the Olympics. The tip of the iceberg may be on that Olympic stand when they're 18. But I mean, it's so important kids need something easy. They don't want to just do the research totally. Now, most of them can do it better than we can do it.
Yeah.
But, just to give them a start and say, yeah, you can be an Olympian if you want to be and want to try. Here's a start. Call Joe Schmo at Luge right now. And we think that it's had a pretty good impact on things in the world, so to speak.
And the importance that you see of sport, other than a 10-year-old being able to grow up to be a great athlete, seems like, the Olympic Games are a much wider and deeper impact that it felt like sport itself has on life in general. I know that's a lot of the stories that you tried to tell with these Olympians. It was more than just about their prowess on whatever venue they were on, but that it changed their life or made them a different person.
Yeah, I really saw it in the women.
Mm.
When Title IX came in, the whole world changed for women in sport. I don't know, growing up, women didn't play sports. There weren't any teams. Now you find all the little girls playing soccer, lacrosse. I've got a granddaughter diving right now. I've got another granddaughter playing lacrosse. They're active. I saw what difference it makes in the way they act in life, because the way you act in sports is just a perfect pattern for how you need to work in life. You're going to get a called third strike with a runners on second and third and lose the ball game and have to face defeat. And then the next game, double off the right field wall, knock the winning run in. It comes and goes. And sport teaches you how to be productive in the workplace. Everything's not perfect in the workplace. Everything is not perfect in sports. But you learn how to make it happen. And you got to bring your own sunshine a lot of times in sports and in life. And I saw it happen specifically for women when Title IX came in. All of a sudden, then it comes in 1996, you've got the gold medal softball, you got the soccer, you've got the all-around women's gymnastics. It just kind of bloomed at that time. But I just saw the difference it made for women specifically. But it's a good pattern for all of us. I don't even care if you're not an Olympian and you're watching it on TV. You get what sports does, and it's something you can use to be a better son or daughter or neighbor, and it's just good for all of us.
What have you taken from this illustrious long career that started in West Texas and all the way through worldwide stops in the Olympic Committee, and now I know you have your own consulting services that help a lot of these organizations out. Other than fly fishing and playing golf in a wonderful part of the United States, what do you grasp and pull from everything, Bob, that you learned over this time after being that intern at Texas Tech to seeing the world through the eyes of these Olympians that keeps you motivated, keeps you going, keeps you investing in other young people's lives?
Mm-hmm. Well, now I am involved pretty much in others' lives, like with the Texas Tech, with mentoring students, with helping people in the business that have come up like I did. I can just tell my story. Every factor is not the same, but maybe there are things to consider. No matter if you're president of IBM or you're an intern at University of North Texas, mm-hmm. I'm still heavy. Seems like I work more now than I did when I worked.
I understand that.
How does that work? I don't know, but it seems like that's what's happening. But it sports and living on a ranch and a farm, having to milk 99 Holstein cows every day, it gives you a parameter of, I don't care if you're sick. I don't care if you don't feel good. You got to milk 99 cows today. Same in sports. You need to get out there and practice and do things and be ready, be prepared. And I just look back and am so absolutely thankful that I didn't go to the bathroom that day. There's a moral in there somewhere.
There's a moral in there somewhere. Yeah. So to this day, Bob, do you still feel that whatever that magic was, like at the opening ceremonies, the Parade of Nations, and whatever that magic was, whatever that goosebumps and chill that it gives to see that, do you still feel that in your life and what that meant to you at that time that then projected you into your career?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. And watching TV, you get to relax a little bit and you get a bigger picture of actually what's going on. Because when you're in it, you're right in the middle and you're not sure of all the details that you can learn on TV. But I get it all the time. Just a feeling of proudness for the country. I think about the friends I made from Canada, Australia, Ukraine. I worry about them, about the folks that I dealt with from Ukraine that coming up. And, the feeling never goes away. It will be with me forever, and I'm glad it is. But, you just learn a lot by being exposed to a lot. And you come up with different reasons for why you do things, how you treat people. And, like I say, bring in your own sunshine. Sometimes that's up to you to bring sunshine. You don't depend on somebody else to do it for you.
Well, Bob Condron, long time with the United States Olympic Committee. You brought a lot of sunshine, Bob, to a lot of people around the world and in the media. And I just appreciate everything you've done. And I appreciate you being on the show with me.
Well, I've enjoyed seeing you again. Hope we get together and talk North Texas and SMU and Texas Tech together.
All right, let's do it. Thanks, Bob.
Okay, thank you a lot, Brian.
Thanks for joining me on this episode of Built for This. Be sure to follow Built for This on your favorite listening platform and share it with a friend. Join me on the next episode when I will share entertaining stories of inspiration, encouragement, and purpose-driven experiences. What are you built for? Built for This is produced and recorded by Heart Media DFW.